to the class of Business Studies. I am N.K. Thukral from Edupedia World. Students, I have covered all the chapters of Business Studies and also the hot tips on application-based questions, long answer type questions, short answer type questions, and in one of the sessions, I have covered the issues involved during project works. I mean to say, whenever you are going to visit the project, what are the issues involved, what are the points to be kept in mind. So students, today I am going to give you the meaning or concept of various key terms being used in business studies. That is, key terms used in various chapters of business studies. I will talk on key terms used chapter wise. Now students, let's see what are the key terms used in one of the chapter, that is nature and purpose of business. As you can see in the slide, students, number one, I'm going to tell you what are the key terms. Key term is profession. Now what is profession? As everybody is aware, let us revise it. What is profession and what is the concept of profession? What profession involves? Profession involves providing personalized services to earn fees. Profession includes those activities which require special knowledge and skills to be applied by individuals in their occupation to earn fees. People engaged in profession are known as professionals. For example, advocates, or you can say lawyers, doctors, chartered accountant, etc. Next key term is innovation. Now what is innovation? Simply the action or process of innovating. Innovation is crucial to the continuing success of any organization. Further, you can know that you can understand change, alteration, revolution, transformation. All of these words used in innovation. What exactly innovation is? Innovation is defined simply as a new idea, device, or method. However, innovation is often also viewed as the application of better solutions that meet new requirements, unarticulated needs, or existing market needs. Next is warehousing. What is warehousing? Everybody must be aware. I can tell you that warehousing, it is concerned with storing goods in order to facilitate their supply to the market at the right time. Warehousing basically removes this hindrance of time by providing facility of storage of goods. It facilitates the availability of goods as and when required. Further, I may tell you that warehousing is an aid or auxiliary to trade. Now next key term is employment. Employment refers to the occupation in which people work for others and get remunerated in return in the form of salary or wages, like bank manager, bank employee. Those who are employed by others are known as employees, like managers, assistants, clerks, peon, etc. People who engage such employees are known as employers. Next terminology in nature and purpose of business is territory. As you can see in the slide, what is tertiary industry? It relates to the industry. Tertiary industry includes all those activities which are concerned with providing support services to primary and secondary industries, as well as activities relating to trade. It is also known as service industry. What this type of industry does? It provides service facilities like transport, banking, insurance, warehousing, communication, etc. Now students, let's go ahead. In the next slide, you can see I have covered terminologies in forms of business organization. Number one terminology is Karta. What is Karta? It comes under Hindu undivided family business. This is one of the form of business organization. Now what exactly Karta? The business of HUF is managed and controlled by the eldest male member of the family known as Karta, or you can say manager. But normally terminology is used as Karta. The decisions of the Karta are binding on all the members. All members have equal ownership right over the property ever entrusted and are known as co-partners. But here we are concerned with Karta, as the decision of the Karta are binding on all the members. Now next terminology is mutual agency. This term is used in one of the form of business organization, that is partnership. But mutual agency means, according to the Indian Partnership Act 1932, partnership business is carried on by all or any one of the partners acting for all. It means every partner acts in the capacity of an agent as well as a principal. As an agent, he represents other partners and thereby binds them through his acts, and as a principal, he is bound by the acts of other partners. That's why called under mutual agents. Now, next terminology is unlimited liability. Now, what exactly unlimited liability means? Here, the term is covered in partnership. When you go through the partnership, under limitation of partnership, there is one of the limitation of partnership is that is unlimited liability, means the liability of partners is unlimited jointly as well as individually. Here, partners are liable to pay off business debts from their personal property if the business assets are not sufficient to meet its debts. Further, it is a drawback for those partners who have greater personal wealth, as they will have to repay the entire debt in case the other partners are unable to do so. So that's why here it is called unlimited liability in the partnership. Next key term used in one of the forms of business organization is perpetual succession. Now, this term is used under joint stock company. What is perpetual succession? Since, as you know, the existence of company is not affected by death, insolvency. So that's why the business go on running. So that's why perpetual succession is concerned. Exactly, I can say that company has a permanent or perpetual existence. That is, its existence is not at all affected by death, either death or insolvency or coming or going out of the members out of the company. As a company is created by law, it can be brought to end by law only. It will cease to exist only when specific procedures of winding up is followed. That is why it is said that members may go, members may come, but the company remains forever. That's why this term is used, perpetual succession. Now students, let us see what is the next slide, the terminology used in one of the forms of business organization, that is artificial person. What is artificial person? Since a company is created by law, it is an artificial person having no body, no soul or no conscience. That is, it cannot breathe, eat, run or talk. But like a natural person, a company can own property, incur debts, borrow money, enters into contract, sue and be sued. It can conduct a lawful business and enters into contact with others. That is why it is called artificial person. Next terminology used is common seal. Common seal is one of the key terms used in joint stock company. Now, what is that? A company, since it is an artificial person which acts through its board of directors. As everybody knows, as a company cannot put its signature. That is clear. The law requires every company to have a seal and get its name engraved on it. The board of directors enters into an agreement with others and indicates company's approval through a common seal only. Any agreement with absence of common seal is not legally binding on the company. That's why it is very much important as a common seal in joint stock company. Now, next is Deyabaga. Now, what is Deyabaga? Deyabaga, it is one of the system, and this term is used in HUF business. Deyabaga system, this is as you know, there are two systems of inheritance under the Hindu law, Deyabaga system and Mitakshara system. Deyabaga system, this system prevails in West Bengal only. Mind it, it prevails in West Bengal only. Under this system, both male and female members of the family are allowed to be co-partners. That's why it is called Deyabaga system. Deyabaga. So next terminology is co-partners. Co-partner key term is used in HUF business. Now, what is co-partners? Co-partners, I can tell you that under Karta, I had explained that the business is managed and controlled by the eldest male member of the family known as Karta. Decisions of the Karta are binding on all the members, and all members have equal ownership right over the property of an ancestors, and they are known as co-partners. Now students, let's go ahead. Let us see what other key terms are there in the next chapter, that is private, public and global enterprises. Now under this chapter, one of the key terms is departmental undertaking. What is departmental undertaking? This is the oldest and traditional form of public enterprises. This is a form of public sector enterprises. Means there are three forms. One is departmental undertaking, another is statutory corporation, another is government company. But here we are concerned with the departmental undertaking. It is managed by government officials as one of the government departments. It is under the control of concerned minister of the department who is answerable to government through parliament only. For example, railway minister is ultimately responsible for the activities of railways. So this is called departmental undertaking. A departmental undertaking is suitable for public utility services and strategic industries. In India, railways and post and telegraph are working as government departments. Similarly, strategic industries like defense and atomic power are also known as departmental undertaking. Next key term is globalization. It has come from global enterprises or multinational companies. Global enterprises or multinational company, that is, you can say MNC, is a company whose business operations extend beyond the country in which it has been incorporated. And what is globalization? So globalization is a process of interaction and integration among the people, companies and governments of different nations, a process driven by international trade and investment and aided by information technology. So students, next key term is disinvestment. What is disinvestment? Disinvestment of share, you can say. Disinvestment refers to selling a part or whole of the shares of public sector enterprises to the private sector. The aim was to raise the resources and to involve general public and workers in the ownership of these enterprises. It was also expected that this investment would improve managerial performance and financial disciplines. So what is the primary objective of privatizing? So why we have to privatize? I mean to say, releasing large amount of public resources locked up in non-strategic PSEs in order to use them on other special priority areas such as basic health, family welfare and primary education. That's why the word is called used as disinvestment, means selling of part of the public sector enterprise. That's why it is called disinvestment. Next term is joint enterprises. Now what is joint enterprises? It has come from joint venture. This term has come from joint venture. When two or more firms join together for a common purpose and mutual benefit, it is known as joint enterprises. Next is public accountability. The term public accountability is used in government companies. What is the doctrine of public accountability? Accountability, I may tell you that it refers to the process of holding persons or organizations responsible for performance as objectively as possible. India as a parliamentary democracy has elected legislatures that have oversight functions over the executive and an independent judiciary that can hold both the legislative and executive arms of the state accountable. That is why it is called public accountability. Next term is public sector undertaking. As you know, students, a government company is established under the Companies Act 2013 or any previous company law. It is registered and governed by the provisions of the Companies Act. It is established for the purpose of running an industrial or commercial undertaking. So, according to the Companies Act 2013, a government company means any company in which not less than 51% of the paid-up capital is held by the central government or by any state government, or partly by central government and partly by one or more state governments. So, these 51% of the paid-up capital is required and to be held by the central government, rest by the public also can be. So, that is why it is called public sector undertaking. Like, for example, BHEL, NTPC, MTNL, etc. etc. Now let's go ahead, students. What is the key terms in the chapter of business services? Let's see in the slide. Number one is subrogation. What is subrogation? According to this principle, the insurer gets all the rights against the third party with respect to the subject matter insured after compensating the loss of insured. Subrogation word is used in chapter insurance. For example, if an insured car has been stolen, then the insurer will compensate the loss as the car was covered by insurance. However, if the car is recovered later, then the insurer will have all the rights on that car. This is because the insured should not be allowed to make any profit by selling the lost code being recovered. That is why terminology subrogation is used here. It must be noted that principle of subrogation applies to all insurance contracts which are contracts of indemnity. Now students, next term under insurance is insurable interest. Now what is insurable interest? The insured must have an insurable interest in the subject matter of insurance. Insured interest means some pecuniary or you can say economic interest in the subject matter of insurance contract. See, this is one of the principles of insurance. Next is contribution. Now, what is contribution, students? This is again one of the principles of insurance. According to this principle, insurer who has paid the claim amount under an insurance policy has the right to recover the proportionate contribution from the other insurer. The insured can take more than one policy on the same property. The principle of contribution ensures equitable distribution of losses between the insurers. Next terminology is e-banking in business services. I mean to say here electronic banking or e-banking. As you know, the growth of internet and e-commerce has resulted in e-banking. Electronic banking is a service provided by many banks in which a customer is allowed to conduct banking transactions over the internet using a personal computer, mobile, telephone or handheld computer. So that's why it's called e-banking, because it is used through internet only. Next is indemnity. Indemnity is used in the chapter of insurance. Again, it is one of the principles of insurance. The term indemnity means security against loss. The purpose of this principle is to put the insured in the event of loss in the same position that he occupies immediately before the happening of the event. Next key term is mitigation. Now, what is mitigation? Mitigation is one of the principles of insurance. According to this principle, it is a duty of the insured to take reasonable steps to minimize the loss or damage to the insured property. This principle aims at making sure that the insured behaves as a prudent person and does not become careless after taking a policy to cover any risk. So, if a reasonable care is not taken, then the claim for an insurance company may be lost. That is why mitigation word has been used. So, next is proximate cause. This is again one of the principles of insurance. Proximate cause means the causes of loss may be of two kinds: insured perils and uninsured perils. According to this principle, the insurer is liable for the loss only when such loss is proximately caused by the perils which are stated in the policy. So, students, we have covered this also principle, one of the principle of insurance. For example, I can say when a loss occurs due to two or more causes, then proximate cause is one which is the most dominant and most effective cause. Insurer is not liable for any uninsured causes or perils. Now students, let's go ahead. Let us see what are the other terms in the next chapter. Next chapter I am going to cover is emerging mode of business. As you can see in the slide, number one key term is e-business and e-commerce. What is e-business? Electronic business, commonly referred to as e-business or e-business, refers to conducting business activities over internet or any other computer network. Or you can say electronic business is a general term for buying and selling process that is supported by electronic means. E-commerce deals only with distribution of goods and services, whereas e-business is a wider term. E-business not only includes e-commerce but also include other electronically conducted business functions like production, accounting, finance, personal administration, etc. So this is what e-business and e-commerce means. Next terminology is browser. What is browser? Browser is a term used in internet banking or internet. A browser is an application program that provides a way to look at and interact with all the information on the World Wide Web. That's why this browser word has come from. So next is virus. Virus term has come under the chapter of emerging mode of business, where security problems are there or risk in e-businesses are there. Now, what is virus? Virus is a program. Virus can enter the computer system through email, disk, or floppy and can damage or corrupt the data and can even lead to complete destruction of the system. That is why it is called virus. Vital information under siege. The protection from virus attacks can be provided by installing and timely updating antivirus programs and scanning disk before using them. So students, next term under emerging mode of business is e-trading and e-procurement. Now what is e-trading? E-trading involves securities trading, that is online buying and selling of shares and other financial instruments. For example, Sharekhan.com is India's largest online trading firm. Under this form, e-trading is done. So now what is e-procurement? It involves internet-based sales transactions between business firms, including both reverse auctions that facilitate online trade between a single business purchaser and many sellers, and digital marketplaces that facilitate online trading between multiple buyers and sellers. Now students, let's go ahead. What is the next term under emerging mode of business? Next, as you can see in the slide, e-bidding. What is e-bidding, or you can say e-auction? Most shopping sites have quote your price, whereby you can bid for the goods and services. It also includes e-tendering, whereby one submit tender quotation online. That's why called e-bidding. Next is business process outsourcing. This term, students, has come from outsourcing. Now what is business process outsourcing? We can say that business process outsourcing, or BPO, is a subject of outsourcing that involves the contracting of a specific business task such as human resources and customer service to a third-party service provider. For example, an insurance company might outsource their claims processing program, or a bank might outsource their loan processing system. Other common examples of BPO are call centers and payroll outsourcing. So students, these are the very important terms, that is why called key terms in coming under emerging mode of business. So today we have covered various key terms in coming under various chapters. So let us wind up today for the session, students. Thank you for the class, and in the next session we will cover other key terms in the other chapters. Thank you.